Hey everyone, Sarah here. Today we have a dinner guest, so I'm going to be making homemade falafel, and I thought it would also be fun to make homemade pita bread, show you how surprisingly easy it is to make on your own. Doesn't require any fancy ingredients. Probably you already have everything you need in your pantry right now. Still doing the gluten-free thing for another week and a half or so, so I won't be partaking today, but I think my guests will enjoy it, and I hope that you do too if you try this recipe out. You can absolutely do this by hand, but if you happen to have a stand mixer, use the dough hook and it does all of the kneading for you. You can also mix the dough in a bread machine if you have one. And what I've done before I turned the camera on about 10 minutes ago is I just put in a little bit over a cup of warm water. You want it lukewarm, not super hot because it will kill your yeast if it's too hot. A teaspoon and a half of active yeast and a teaspoon and a half of sugar. I also added just a splash, probably less than a full tablespoon of vegetable oil. If you are super averse to cooking with oils, I'm sure you could also skip it. The oil just adds a little bit of extra moisture to the dough, keeps it fresher, especially if you're going to be eating it the next day. You just want to let those ingredients sit for about 10 minutes until the yeast gets nice and foamy. That's how you know it's still alive and active. And now I have 3 cups of all-purpose flour. You can also substitute out a portion of the white flour for whole wheat flour, but then you might need a little less than 3 cups because the whole wheat flour also absorbs more moisture. This is just regular all-purpose flour. I'm going to toss it in, and I'm just going to give it a quick stir to combine all of the ingredients. Once all the ingredients are just roughly combined, I'm going to attach my dough hook and I'm going to put it up to like medium and just knead the dough. After about a minute, go ahead and stop it, take a look at it. If it looks still really sticky, you can add a little bit of extra flour, but you want to add it like no more than a tablespoon at a time. And then turn it back on, let all of that new flour incorporate. When it's all said and done, you want to add enough flour that the dough is firm enough that it clears the sides of the bowl, but it still looks really smooth and elastic, and all of the flour is fully absorbed. Once you've added enough flour to get it to the right consistency, clearing the sides of the bowl, go ahead and turn it down to like a medium-low speed. Just walk away for 5 to 8 minutes, let it keep kneading. And after that kneading process, you can see the dough ball looks like this. It's nice and smooth on the surface. When you touch it, it doesn't come off on your finger. Everything is well incorporated. The next step is just to let this dough rise for about an hour, however long it takes to double. That will depend on how warm it is where you are. So I have this big glass bowl. I put some spray oil in there so it doesn't stick. We're gonna give it a flip so that the entire thing is covered with oil. Just gonna cover it with a cloth. And I'm going to set this somewhere warm for about an hour, and if it's very cold in your house, preheat your oven for about a minute on the lowest setting, probably like 200 degrees. After a minute, turn it back off. It's going to be slightly warm, and then just throw your dough in there to rise. So what we're going to do now, I have a cutting board, and I'm going to just dust it with some flour to keep it from sticking. And I'm going to cut this into 8 pieces just using this bench scraper. We're going to take each of these pieces and just roll it into a ball. I'm going to set all but one of the dough balls aside, and then we're just going to roll it out into like a 6-inch circle. You can use a little bit of extra flour if you want to. And over here I have another cutting board. I dusted it with flour. I'm going to throw on my pita bread here and let it continue to rise. Just repeat the process until they're all flattened out. Right now that we have all of our pitas rolled out, just going to cover it up with the tea towel again and let it rise for like 30 minutes. They're going to get a little bit puffy. While these are rising, you need to preheat your oven to 500 degrees, but I'm also going to show you a way to cook them on the stove. So now 30 minutes have elapsed. They don't look that different, but they've puffed up just slightly. My oven is preheated to 500, and what I'm going to use, you can use just a regular baking pan if you like. You can also just toss them onto your oven racks if you feel comfortable sticking your hand in there. But I'm going to use this cooling rack, and this is one that is oven safe. It doesn't have any like painted coating on there. Ideally, you can use something like this that lets the air move freely around the entire pita bread so that it cooks evenly. So we're just going to do it in 2 batches. I'm going to stick this in my oven, and it's literally going to take like 4 or 5 minutes at max. So watch them carefully, and when they're starting to get just a little bit golden brown, that's when you take them out. You also have the option of cooking these over the stove if you prefer. I just have this over medium-high heat, non-stick skillet, no oil or anything in here. And I'm going to slide our pita bread in there and just don't touch it at all. So we have our finished product here. It looks beautiful, and when you tell people that you made it from scratch, they're gonna be like, what? I just want to show you. I want to cut one open, show you the pocket. Look! Stick your falafels in there. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like if you did, and subscribe if you're new to this channel and you're into recipe videos like these, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!